Hello, everybody. UFC Wildcat here,
And I'm Powder Blue Bolts,
and it is a glorious day.
the granddaddy of them all.
The Rose Bowl. It's going to be great. Our first BCS Bowl. Super stoked. Wisconsin against Stanford. It's going to be two run-heavy teams playing against each other. It's going to be very exciting. Pretty good defense on both sides of the ball. Both of them in the top 20 for points against. It's going to be really good. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I think it'll be a pretty good game. Probably would have been a little better if Ohio State wasn't under NCAA sanctions. But, such is life. Wisconsin kind of won their division by default, being that Ohio State and Penn State both finished ahead of them in the division. But you know how things go. Whatever.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. I think it'll still be a good game. Wisconsin's still a good team, although they did have a few close games and a few losses that you kind of scratch your head at. You look at their opener against Northern Iowa, only winning by 5 to an FCS program, and that's kind of scary. And that was at home. And then they go to Oregon State, who Oregon State's a good team. They finished the season really well. They kind of surpassed expectations, but at the time they weren't really that great, and they lost 10-7.
Yeah, and I think that game was really glaring because everything was going wrong. Nothing went right for the Wisconsin Badgers. Just everything was just out of sorts. Monty Ball only had 61 yards, and they only gave him the ball 15 times. Like, what are you doing? Danny O'Brien, they passed with him 38 times. What are you doing? Just crazy stuff. And the Oregon State defense was just playing outside their mind.
Yeah.
And again, Oregon State passed all over them. Sean Mannion had 276 yards passing. Like, that's ridiculous. It was definitely crazy. But again, I try to contribute that to that kind of opening game jitters, your first away game.
Yeah.
So I mean, maybe that's you travel cross country from Wisconsin to Oregon. It's not a good place. Corvallis does crazy things. I remember USC could not win there for a while.
Could not, yeah.
It was definitely tough. So I mean, hey, maybe it's some Corvallis magic. Maybe Wisconsin was just out of it. I don't know. But when looking at Wisconsin's schedule, they could easily be undefeated. I just want to put that out there. All their losses are by a combined, let's see, they lost by 3 to Penn State, 3 to Michigan State, 3 to Nebraska, 3 to Oregon State, and 7 to Ohio State. So really, their losses are by a combined 19 points. They could easily be undefeated right now. Unamused.
You done?
You're unamused.
Are you done?
You're unamused.
I thought I was talking about Wisconsin.
I was just putting my input in there.
Are you done?
Ass.
All right. Anyways, back to Wisconsin, who I was assigned to talk to. You look at their Week 3 game against Utah State, who actually finished pretty well, but they get them at home. They only win by 2, and Utah State really could have won that game. Again, you kind of scratch your head at that if you're Wisconsin. But, moving on, as far as key players go for Wisconsin, you look at their amazing running back in Monty Ball, finishing the year with 1,700 yards rushing and 21 touchdowns, and he actually broke a couple of records.
A few. A couple.
He's awesome, and I really think he's a real big reason why Wisconsin's in this game. And also their quarterback situation, Kurt Phillips, who's actually currently starting for them. However, Joel Stave,
I think that's it. He's a young gun.
Yeah, he's only a freshman, and he recently had surgery, but I guess he's recovering from that surgery a little quicker than they expected, and he could possibly start. He's been the starter all year, so look for their quarterback situation with Kurt Phillips and Joel Stave.
Yeah, it's going to be really good. Phillips on the year only has 1 pick in 4 games. Very good. And in those 4 games that he played in, again, they did very well against Indiana, putting up 62 points. Barely lost to Ohio State in overtime. Barely lost to Penn State in overtime. But destroyed Nebraska. So, I don't know. Kurt Phillips looks like a good guy. And you also have to highlight their wide receiver, Jared Abbrederis. He's got almost 800 yards receiving and 5 touchdowns. This kid's pretty good on his own as well.
Yeah, for a team that doesn't really pass too often, he actually is putting up really good numbers. But Wisconsin does really like to run the ball, and when you're not running with Monty Ball, you're running with James White. Kind of a change of pace back, a little bit of a bigger back, kind of like a John Clay, who used to go to Wisconsin. Having 800 yards on the year and 12 touchdowns to kind of complement Monty Ball when he's not on the field.
Yeah, and you also have to look on the defensive side. A dude who's kind of close to from close to our area, and Chris Borland, a very good linebacker, kind of one of the emotional leaders on the defense in my eyes. Very good linebacker, makes a lot of plays. So I think he's going to have to step up and do well against the Stanford rush offense, which is going to be good. And I'm going to start talking about them. Do you want to interrupt me? Because I guess I interrupted you.
No, I'm good.
I guess I did that. I guess this is happening.
I'm good.
You're a dick. I don't like you.
I'm exiting.
I'm leaving. But yeah, Stanford, a very run-heavy team. They aren't really that strong. They're 51st in rushing. But again, their running back is definitely a workhorse in Stephon Taylor. He has 1,442 yards rushing and 12 touchdowns on the year. This guy, he is a power runner, but he also has some speed to break away. Very good. I've watched him in the Arizona game. I don't even want to talk about it at times because this guy's so good and we didn't have a defense. It was like field day, which apparently happened a lot against us. Freaking Cody Fajardo in the Gilda, New Mexico Bowl. Marquise Lee setting Pac-12 records and USC records against us. Just whatever. If that's what you want to do. We said that's okay. Stupid stuff. But they have also been swapping their quarterbacks around like Wisconsin. They started out the year with Josh Nunez, and he was actually doing well, except for they had like a really questionable loss at Washington, and everybody was like, boo this kid, get him out of there. They kept him, though, and Nunez led a win against Arizona in overtime at home, which is very good. Then they went to Notre Dame and barely lost in overtime.
Some people would say they should have won that game.
Is that you?
You might not be one of them, but some people say they probably should have won that game.
That's true. I mean, I did think Stephon Taylor was in the end zone. But again, it should have gone to another overtime, but that doesn't necessarily mean Stanford should have won.
Yeah.
But yeah, Stanford could easily be undefeated at the moment. But they did switch to their quarterback who's been playing right now and playing phenomenally, Kevin Hogan, who has 973 yards passing, 9 touchdowns, and only 3 picks. But what's really good about Kevin Hogan is he's kind of a dual threat. He adds some mobility, and he's got 209 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns. So, I mean, not too much, but again, he can move, and he can make some plays on his feet. One of the big thing of Stanford is looking out for their 2 huge, amazing tight ends. Zach Ertz, who on the season has 837 yards receiving and 6 touchdowns. He is a big playmaker. He's more of a, blocking tight end, but he can't catch the ball a little bit if you can't tell. But one of their guys who's like pretty athletic, really tall, Levine Toilolo. Hopefully I said that right. I think I did. It sounds right. Almost 400 yards receiving and 4 touchdowns. This kid is also a really good receiver for Kevin Hogan. It's going to be good at play actioning out of that run-heavy offense and everything. They love to hit their tight ends. And I think Stanford can do well. You look on their other side of the ball, they've got Shane Scove, who's a really good linebacker. I really like what I see out of him. And they've got another linebacker. The name is escaping me right now. God, I'm so mad. But no, Stanford's linebackers are some of the best. All I can remember right now is Shane Scove.
Mike Taylor?
No, I think that's a Wisconsin guy. But yes, the Stanford linebackers are going to need to be good against one of the best running backs in the NCAA in Monty Ball.
Yeah, I agree with you. And as far as keys to a victory for Wisconsin, I think you kind of have to feed Monty Ball, and he has to have a really good game against a Stanford defense that doesn't give up a whole lot of touchdowns. And if you can kind of force them to give up touchdowns and kind of run the ball really effectively, I think you can win because I don't know, this Stanford defense is really, really good. So it'll be kind of scary.
Very good. They shut down Oregon in Autzen, so it's going to be a scary game. I think for Stanford, it's kind of along the same lines. They got to stop Monty Ball, force Kurt Phillips, the senior, to have to make some plays that maybe he doesn't want to, maybe he's not used to making. Shut down Aberderis, because other than that, they don't have a lot of playmakers at receiver or tight end, which is usually something Wisconsin does have, at least at tight end. If Stanford can force Kurt Phillips to throw the ball and maybe make a few mistakes, then I think Stanford can win this game. But again, we're going to have to see how that goes. Very scary matchup both ways. 2 very good defenses and some average offenses, except for Wisconsin. Wisconsin has one of the best rushing offenses in the NCAA, being 12th. So again, that's something to look out for. Again, you got immovable object and an unstoppable force. That's what it is.
Yep.
Got it now. It's in my head. Oh, man. What's your prediction for the game?
I think this will be a pretty low-scoring game, and I actually think it'll be a pretty close game. A lot of people think Stanford's going to walk away with this one, but I don't see it. I think Wisconsin's going to compete. They hung 70 on Nebraska, so they're here to play. And whenever you hang 70 points on a team, you know you're talented. But I do think Stanford's defense is going to be a little much to handle for the Badgers. And offensively, Stanford's, I think, is just a little bit more talented, so they kind of edge them out by just a little bit. Not a whole lot. I think it'll be 23-20 Stanford.
Okay, that's good. I like that. I'm going to put it to you this way. Wisconsin's been in the Rose Bowl, this is the third straight time?
They're 0-2.
They're 0-2. They lost to TCU.
They lost to Oregon.
They lost to Oregon. They lost their coach, which is really upsetting. Brett Bielema decided to leave because the money wasn't right at Wisconsin, and he kept losing coordinators.
Yep.
I think the Wisconsin Badgers come out, and they say no. Third time's a charm. I think Wisconsin's going to win this game. I think they're going to win. It's going to be a tight one. It's going to be a 24-21 game. Wisconsin gets a late touchdown by the touchdown maker, Monty Ball, and he goes out a winner. And Wisconsin holds the Rose Bowl trophy, and they're all excited. And our first BCS Bowl of the year is done. It's going to be a good one. Remember to leave a like, comment what you think is going to happen in the game, and definitely subscribe because, again, more BCS Bowls to come.
All right, yeah, guys. Be sure to join us next time for the Discover Orange Bowl featuring the Northern Illinois Wolfpack.
No, Huskies.
Huskies.
Oh, my God.
I saw a wolf.
They do not...
And Florida State Seminoles. That'll be a good one. That'll be a controversial bowl. A lot of people think Northern Illinois has no business in the BCS, but we'll talk about that next time.
UFC Wildcat and Powder Blue Bolts, signing out.